Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with Daily Technical Update. It is Friday the 7th of June and we'll go straight to it to S&P 500. Uptrend is intact. It resumed uptrend as we talked about yesterday. Also pausing a little bit, still potential up to 54, maybe even 5,500, but there are some warning signs showing in the form of declining volume, as you can see here. Also on the very short term, there's declining volume. So a little bit of imbalance at the moment. So it's not that strong, the uptrend, and it's particularly shown on the weekly chart. Look at this massive drop in volume the past couple of, for 4, 5, 6 weeks. But actually also since mid first quarter, overall the volume has been declining. So that's a little bit of a worrying sign. It's a warning sign. It's not a top reversal. It is just saying that, well, we are uptrend is maybe in exhaustion mode, but we don't have a top and reversal in place. Also the same picture here on Nasdaq. You can see here on the weekly chart, really declining. What you can also do, there's a more detailed explanation I published yesterday here. S&P 500 Nasdaq could gain additional 3 to 6%, but the uptrend is showing signs of being stretched and fragile, and I go through that and the the potential upside, but also some of these warning signs, as we can see here on the on especially the weekly. So short term is still fairly strong, but signs of weakness. But on medium term, it is definitely a worrying sign. But still, stay with your trend. The trend is your friend, and for now it is still up, and there's further upside potential to 19,350, maybe 19,500 for Nasdaq. What is also a little bit of worry is that it's mostly free stocks that is actually driving it. Nvidia, Apple, and Microsoft, and they consist about 20% of the index. So it's really those driving at the moment. EUROSTOXX 50. The bounce, well, it's really frustrating a little at the moment because, yeah, we did a very strong bounce. RSI still in a positive sentiment, but I would like to see it getting back above 60 before I call a break of the previous peak here at 5120, 5100. That is the levels it needs to take out to move higher towards 5200. If it doesn't break it back above 60 on the RSI, well, then it will be sent back down again. DAX, also same picture really, bounced off the 38.2 retracement and got rejected at the 786 retracement of this downtrend, this bearish move here at 18,780. We are in a positive sentiment, but there is divergence. As you can see, values are declining. So we could be caught range bound between previous peak and this 18,365-ish level for the next few days going into next week. There is unemployment numbers coming out of US later today that could move the markets either way if there's a big surprise. Amsterdam still very strong, ticking higher, now reached 926 and even more than that. Still potential up to 35, 935 potentially. There is divergence, but it is just a warning sign. Again, it is not a total reversal. It's just saying maybe it's a little bit stressed, but as also here is actually ASML that is primarily driving this, so it's still the semiconductor business driving this. So a little bit fragile also here, but again, the trend is your friend, and we could move a little bit higher to 930, 935. CAC40 is the weakest of them all. Downtrend intact, couldn't get back above the cloud, still below 21 and 55 moving average. We could see a retest of the 7,914 support RSI negative sentiment supporting the negative picture there, so it doesn't look too good on CAC40. Finally, on Swiss market, really strong, reached 176.40, 76.4, and could push a little bit higher. There's no divergence, I believe, here on the RSI. Let's do a line there. Nah, very close to showing that, but let's look out for a potential top reversal. Could push a little bit higher towards 12,320, but a little bit stressed at the moment, so expect a minor correction. Euro dollar is now back again above 108.85, but it's really struggling for upside momentum. But I think it will slowly crawl higher, but it can also be very decisive later today with the unemployment numbers. But at least we can see some noise at least. But the uptrend is intact. Minor divergence. I wouldn't pay too much attention to it. I think it will push higher in the coming days, coming weeks. If we can get the 55 moving average back above the 200, that will give some support. You can see they're slowly turning around here. There is still room up to around 109.80 resistance, 110, which is the 138.2 projection. But a little bit frustrating that it's really not getting up there. If you're long your dollar, I don't have any interest in that at all. Euro sterling, just a quick look again, see how important 85 is for euro sterling. Tested a couple of times, dipping below, but couldn't really break through. It is really a key support, as you can see several times. It has turned around. Will it do it this time or not, or will it break through? Keep an eye on that. That could be a massive move if it really gets its mojos back together and push it lower. Cable hovering around the 128. Still uptrend intact, a little bit divergence indicating it is in exhaustion mode, but if it takes out the peak earlier this week at 128.18, well then maybe it can get some attraction towards 129. Dollar yen sliding back lower, couldn't close back above the cloud, but it's still in a positive sentiment. It's still in a bullish trend. Sentiment on the RSI, there's no divergence. If it takes out 154.48, well then key support 153.60 and 151.85. There could be a lot of noise today, but RSI is telling me we could see higher levels in dollar yen. So please be aware of that. That the indicator is telling that. But for now, a little bit range bound. So a little bit uncertainty. Keep your stops closed there. Euro yen, I would say 170.90 and 168.20, 25. That is the range to break out of for any direction. There's divergence on the RSI, so it should break lower, but it needs to be confirmed. It could drop down to the 61.8 at 166.64 and the lower rising trend line. Also yen, key support 102.80, that should be observed. If it takes it out once again, it dipped below here the other day, but if it takes it once again, I believe we will see that it dipped down to 61.8 at 101.80-85 level, possibly all the way down to around 101. If it can hold on, well, then it can slowly crawl higher. There is divergence on the RSI, but as you can see, RSI also broke below its lower rising trend line there. So it does look a little bit heavy, and we should have a correction, but it is not yet confirmed. Sterling yen, 197.20 and 265.75. Key areas, key levels to look out for. Got a little bit up to the 786 retracement, but I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. Those are the levels to look out for. Aussie dollar, not really much to say. I haven't said that the past few days, range bound between 67.14 and 66, and that is the range to break out of. Dollar Canada also 137.45. Really a key strong resistance that it needs to break out of, and to the downside 135.90. Moving on to the Swiss franc. Swiss franc 96.75, key support being tested once again. If it takes it out, well, then we could be looking at 96, 95 and a half, around that. Otherwise, a nice bounce up to around 90, just below 98, it could be seen. And if we say we'll see a bounce, well, then add the Fibonacci levels, give you a kind of idea to 97.70, possibly up to 98.35 level. Dollar Swiss, same picture really. 88.80 is the key support. And finally, the dollar index is sliding a little bit lower, and I think we'll see it testing 103.68 in coming days. Gold finally took off from support at 23.14, took out 23.65, couldn't get back above 23.84, which we talked about some time ago, for really resuming uptrend. Now it's being sent back down 23.65. I mean, we are above the cloud, we are above the 55 moving average, we are still in uptrend, but the RSI is not really supporting that. I want to see RSI back above 60 before I really call it towards 24.20 and the previous all-time highs. So a little bit indecisive at the moment, so be really careful here. Could see a lot of volatility also later today with the unemployment numbers that could really rock the boat, but underlying trend up with some warning signs on the RSI. Silver, very strong bounce yesterday, setting back a little bit today. But we talked about it yesterday morning that it was above 30, could push higher. So I would consider this double top pattern to be busted. It didn't really move all the way down to 28.5 as it could have. There's no divergence on the RSI, indicating we are likely to see higher levels on silver. If we just very quickly look at the weekly chart, we can see, well, there is still potential much higher towards 34.5, 35 region on the medium term, but at the moment a lot of volatility and fighting going on between bulls and bears, so sometimes the direction is not that clear. Platinum back above 1,000. Can it get back above 1,015? I'm not quite sure, but if it does, well, maybe that was that correction. It didn't get all the way down to 974. 55 moving average coming up there, giving some support, also indicating and supporting the uptrend. So this might have just been a correction that didn't go as far as expected. RSI is still in a positive sentiment, and if it moves back above 60, well, then expect platinum to move higher. Copper has bounced fairly strongly above the 450 support area, 450, 446. And that is a sign of strength. Despite having divergence, we're still in a positive sentiment. It didn't close below 40, so we could see a bounce towards 477, 78. Key resistance around 487, 490. If it breaks above that and closes above that, well, then we are back in a bullish trend. On the energy side, we have seen crude oil bouncing off here. WTI 72.40. That is the little bit of correction area over here. I actually did expect it to slide lower to 70 level, but it didn't. It bounced a little bit higher, and now it's trading around the 38.2 retracement. This sell-off around the 75, 78. I think it could bounce a little bit further, but look at this, we are still in a negative sentiment and bearish trend, so we could push lower in the coming weeks. Maybe this is just a little bit of relief rally. Here we have Brent bouncing from 76.85. If it takes out that level, I don't think that the 76 level will hold, and when we are looking at 74.73. Finally, as usual, on the US Treasury yields, trying to crawl back above 430 later today. Again, could be decisive for success of that, or will it push lower towards 420? That's all for today. Have a nice day and nice weekend, and happy trading.